Hello and a good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you all. For good and wonderful people of the tube. Hope today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello there everybody. Today's vid people of the tube is a question I put to you for your opinion on this. This is something that I started thinking about the other day. I recently bought, well, at the time of filming, I recently bought this guitar. Now this is a 1970 to somewhere between 1972, 73, 74 Les Paul Japanese made copy. This one's been heavily modded. I will do a video on this at some point when I get round to it. It's been modded extraordinarily well, but it's a Les Paul copy from the 70s. Now, as the title suggests, will this guitar that I bought the other day as well, which is a Chibson, fake Gibson, even with logo and everything, ever be as revered as some of these are? Because I love these old 70s Les Paul copies, and I know a lot of people do, and they're quite collectible, if you will. Your old Ibanez's, you've got some Columbus, Les Pauls, and you've got Hondo 2 and stuff like that. And you also get obviously Strats and Telecasters and stuff like that. But the question today is, people of YouTube, do you reckon, because these are quite collectible now and people seek these things out, people like me for instance, do you reckon in 40 years time there'll be somebody going, you won't believe this Chibson that I just bought, look at it, it's amazing? Do you think that might ever be a thing? Because, I can almost guarantee that somebody said that about these things, if you will, in the 70s. Like somebody in the 1970s maybe looked at their Les Paul copy and thought, I wonder if this will ever be collectible. Because at the time, everyone was like, if you had a Gibson Les Paul copy, it was awesome. But you wanted a Gibson. You wanted that name on the headstock. You wanted a Gibson. And for a lot of people, this is the best they could do. Something like this is the best they could do. And so a lot of people bought these things and played them and loved them and used them and modified them. Like this one's been modified massively. I'm not going to go into too many details about how this has been modified. I'm going to save that for a video. But this guitar, this has been somebody's main guitar for a long time. You can tell by the way, the fact there's barely any frets left on it. The pickups have been changed, the electrics have been changed, it's been modded, the hardware's been changed, the switch has been changed, it's got a bone nut on it, it's got different machine heads. Not a lot of this guitar is stock to how it came. The pickup rings, scratch plate, body, neck, frets, maybe, are original, and that's your on strap buttons. The rest of that has been changed to whoever owned this guitar before me's preference. And this guitar has been gigged a lot. It's not got a lot of wear. It's been loved and it's been looked after, but you can tell it's been played. There's a lot of pitting on the fretboard. It's had a lot of hours put into it. And it makes me think this was somebody's pride and joy. It's now my pride and joy for however long I have this for. And somebody played this for years and years and years and loved it, obviously, and was obviously very happy with this, to the point where, I don't know, sadly, they might have never even bothered going, I don't even need a Gibson, I've got this. This does what I want it to do and I love it. The neck's fantastic, it stays in tune, it is a bolt-on neck, but it's... What a guitar. And again, it's been played. And the question is, will this, and it's going to send the camera funny because it's so white, ever reach that level? People who buy because these guitars are fantastic. Again, exactly the same as this one. What a fantastic modding platform it is. Because if you're into that kind of thing, I mean, this guitar to me is amazing as it is. I love these pickups. They're a bit microphonic, but they sound great. The electrics aren't fantastic, but they do have full-size pots, and it works. The fretwork when I got it was awful, but again, being fixed. And the neck's amazing on it, and it's solid. It's heavy. There's a million giveaways. This isn't a real Gibson. There's so many things on this guitar that you go, yeah, that's definitely a fake. But again, that's not really what this point is. Do you think that, in 40 years' time, people will be gushing like they do over old Ibanez lawsuit models, or I do over stuff like this, because these do have a fan base. I'm in it. I love these 70s copies. I've got quite a lot of them, and this is the newest acquisition. I've had 3 other Japanese Les Paul copies that I never should have sold. I had a Columbus, I had 2 Columbuses, sorry, and I had another one that had no name on it. And I never should have sold any of them. I should have kept them all, and I didn't, and I'm an idiot. Because I love them. And my question is, will Chibson be... Because this is a modern day lawsuit guitar. This is a lawsuit guitar because it's got the Gibson headstock. It's got the open book headstock, so it makes it a lawsuit. But this has got the Gibson headstock, and it's also got a Gibson logo. Which means this is a modern day lawsuit guitar. And I bought this guitar. I was going to buy this guitar for this video, and now I'm going to hang on to it for a while because I actually really, really like it. And I'll do a video on this at some point as well. But just a quick video today, really, to ask this question. What do you think, people of YouTube? And again, I hope I'm putting my point across okay. I'm a bit worried that I've kind of already screwed this up and made no sense whatsoever. But do you think in 40 years' time, people will be like, oh, I got this amazing Chibson, it's a 2024, vintage guitar. Because this is a vintage guitar. This is technically a vintage Les Paul. It was made in 1972, 73, 74, somewhere in those 3 years, because of the branding, Saxon, and certain things about it dates it to that period of time. But it's a vintage guitar. It's got vintage pickups in it as well, and I'm not going to say what they are. It's got vintage wiring in it. It's not old wiring. The hardware as well, although is a lot newer. The stop bar and the bridge are a lot newer, but they've still had loads of use. They are gold, but they're kind of really worn down. The machine heads are old. You know what I mean? Just because it doesn't say Gibson on it, doesn't mean it doesn't mean really anything, really. It's still a vintage instrument. It's so it was on my mind, and I thought, I'm going to bring it to you, awesome people, and just see what you reckon. In 40 years' time, 30 years' time, will some of these Chibsons be revered as oh yeah, I got this really cool vintage Chibson the other day? I gush over. I got this really cool vintage Japanese Les Paul from the 70s the other day, and gush over stuff like this. I don't know. Because it's funny because a load of people say these guitars are terrible, like, you know, they never stay in tune, you know, the construction wasn't great and this, that and the other. And to a certain point, that is true. The construction on these guitars is a little bit questionable, and the way they're put together is a bit questionable. I've got a Hondo 2 Les Paul Custom in storage, that nothing on that guitar is straight. Nothing. Everything is wonky. But the way that thing plays, the way that thing sounds, and the way that thing feels is immense. It feels, sounds, looks, is wicked. It's one of my favourite guitars. I'm limited on space, so I have to put things in rotation, basically. Of like, you know, now I want to go and get it now so I can actually play it. But you know, otherwise I'd have had it here for the video. But like I say, it's in storage with some others. But now I want to go and get it, so that's probably what I'm going to be doing this afternoon. Anyway, I lost my train of thought now because I'm thinking about that bloody guitar. But yeah, like I say, it's a great guitar. It's solid. You know, it's not going anywhere fast. You know what I mean? It's strong. Same as this one. It's a bolt-on neck, and it's hollow. You know, it's not a solid body. It's still really heavy, by the way. It's still actually mahogany. There's still like wedges of mahogany and plywood in this. My Hondo 2 is actually all mahogany. It's a mahogany neck, mahogany body. This one has a mahogany neck and random bits of mahogany and plywood. It's a really weird construction, but I don't know. It's an amazing guitar. Same as this one. I should have got this one out as well, but this is a fantastic guitar as well. And look, again, another lawsuit, because I love these things. This is my Columbus. There we go. 335 copy from 1970s. I was told, why don't you just put this in the skip? You know, what good is it? It's totally hollow. There's no center block. It's like a 330. It's like a really weird hybrid of a 330 and a 335, this thing, because there's no center block. There is like a little bit that the pickups go onto, but other than that, it's totally hollow, you know. But the way this thing feels to play, the way this thing sounds, is insane. This is literally one of the best guitars I own. And I very rarely have it go out of tune. It's probably one of the most stable guitars I own. It's insane, and the neck is to just die for. But again, it is another lawsuit because you've got the Gibson open book headstock, and all the early '60s Gibson 335s I've played with the block inlays. The neck on this is exactly how they feel. So this is, you know, and again, this feels like a 70s Les Paul. This feels like an early 60s 335. You know, this Les Paul here, the white one, this one feels like an early 90s custom. And again, it's making the camera go dark 'cause it's so white and clean. But this is like a 90s Les Paul custom to me. This isn't like a vintage Les Paul custom. It doesn't have the neck for it at all. But this is like a 90s Les Paul custom to me. It really feels, you know, like the ones I've tried that are from the 90s. It doesn't feel like a modern custom. Like from the 2000s, it feels like a 90s custom. But again, I digress. These lawsuit guitars are fantastic, and they are amazing. And they're a fraction of the price of their Gibson Fender counterpart of the same age. You know, I got this 335 for 200 quid. I got this one for 150. And if I wanted a black Les Paul custom from the 70s, I dread to think. If I wanted a 1962 to 64 Gibson 335 walnut brown, I dread to think how much that would cost me. And I would happily put these up against their Gibson counterpart. I would. I've played their counterpart, you know. I've played a lot of Gibson 335s from this era. I've played a lot of 70s Les Pauls. And that's how I know that's what these feel like. You know, again, same with this one. Any other guitar I've got, I know what they feel like. Cause I'm a lucky get. I've got to play lots of guitars in my life, and certain ones feel right, certain ones don't, and certain ones remind me of others and whatever. But you kind of don't have the worry with something like this that you do with, like, if that was a real Gibson. You know, if this was a Gibson Walnut 335 in this condition, I don't think I would dare play it. Because of what it is. Same thing with this. If this was like a 50s or a 70s Les Paul Custom Black Beauty reissue or original, there's a certain kind of worry of playing these things, especially if they're original condition. If they're re-sprayed or whatever, fair enough. But again, I digress. I do that a lot, don't I? I love my tangents. Anyway, Tangent Boy is back, everybody, and he's here to ruin your day. Hopefully not. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, but yeah, going back to the original point. Will these... There's a beard hair on there. Will these ever be as collectible? I reckon yes. I do think in 40 years' time, and again, it's not going to happen anytime soon, obviously, because that didn't happen to these, really, until then. Until, I don't know, I'd say fairly recent. You know, there's still a lot of people who consider the old 70s Les Paul copies and Strat copies and Telecaster copies and 335 copies as garbage. I don't. I think they're fantastic, and you can do a lot with them. And again, they cost a fraction of the price of their bigger name counterpart. And you still get a vintage guitar, and they still feel and sound amazing. You know, it is what it is. And I do really think that something like a Chibson, one of these, is going to go the same way. I do think that in like 4 years' time, people are going to be like, you know, not everyone, obviously, because there's love and hate. Again, everything's subjective, isn't it, to personal preference. But it's, I think there will be like a little kind of random little cult niche, if you will, of people who love collecting old Chibsons. It sounds weird to say it, doesn't it? Because like Chibsons are kind of like a new thing. But again, like I say, they're a modern day lawsuit guitar. This is a modern day lawsuit guitar. How are they getting away with it, with Gibson being Gibson, I don't know. It's insane. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know how they're getting away with having this. And I'll tell you one thing, people of the tube. This one, I've played a lot of Chibsons. This one is the best one I've ever played. There's loads of giveaways. It's not Gibson. It's very obvious when you know what you're looking for, and I can guarantee a lot of you I could hold this up in a video and you would immediately go, yeah, that's not real. But it doesn't matter because it's a great guitar, and it sounds great and it plays great, and it's got the ability, if you wanted to go, you know what, I don't like these pickups. Get rid of them, put new ones in. Don't like electronics. Get rid of them, put new ones in. You've got an amazing starting platform here with this guitar. You know what I mean? This thing is solid. You know, the only problem I've got is the bridge is in the wrong place. It needs actually moving because the intonation's squiffy. It's in enough, but it's not great. The bridge is actually too far back, I think. Or it could just be me. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, new nut, new machine heads. Not that you need to do any of this thing, but if you're into that kind of thing, do it. New electrics, new pickups, new hardware. You've got yourself a fantastic guitar. Because this is a fantastic guitar as it is, and I'm not intending to change anything on it because I love the way this feels, sounds, and is. And it's very, very stable. It stays in tune. Like I said, I'll do a video on it at some point talking a bit more about it and whatnot. But it's a great guitar. But again, it's a modern day lawsuit. Much as back in the day, these were lawsuits. You know, both these guitars are lawsuit guitars, and I've got another one, a Hondo too, and I still wish I had my other three of them. And I cringe. I really do cringe. There's other guitars that I've got rid of that I wish I had back more, but those ones are definitely ones that I maybe wouldn't have played, but have liked to collect. Because I do like collecting my 70s knockoffs. I like them. And again, I'm not the only one. That's why this question came about, because I was thinking, well, I'm not the only one who likes these Gibson knockoffs and Fender knockoffs. So, in 40 years' time, will people be like, oh, I love my Chibsons? You know, I can't wait. Oh, I'm off to buy a 2024 Chibson the weekend. Oh, I can't wait. You know, I don't know. People of YouTube, I hand it over to you because I'll keep waffling and not make any sense eventually in this. But what do you think? Like I say, Chibsons are just modern day lawsuit guitars, like the Ibanez's of the 70s, or the like Columbuses, or Saxon, or whatever else, Univox, you know, the rip-offs of the day. Which invariably were actually sometimes better than the actual bigger brand name ones. But, you know, Tokai, for instance, as an example of that. Ibanez were a great example of that as well. I think Tokai were the best example of knockoffs that were just stunning. Because I was like, my 1984 Gold Star copy of a 64 Strat, no kidding, it's a copy of a 64 Strat. It's ridiculously close. And it's such an amazing guitar. Again, it's in storage, otherwise I've had it in the video. But yeah. What do you think, people? Let me know in the comment section below. Really, really curious to hear your thoughts on this one. You know, will Chibsons ever be collectible? Let me know in the comment section below. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to stop myself. So, anyway. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video for what it is. And again, you heard the Chibson at the beginning. That guitar sounds amazing. I'll do a video on it at some point. I'll do a video on the Saxon at some point as well. I do have a video on this one. If you want to look it up on my channel, it's on there somewhere. I was in France when I demoed that, actually. I bought this the day before I went to France, which was really, really cool. So it's got a lot of memories, that guitar. It's really connected to me, and that's a guitar that if this guitar ever goes out of my possession, something's gone wrong. Because there's just something really special about this. This is one of those guitars that when you think about selling it, it kind of gives you a cold sweat and makes you kind of go, ooh, I don't feel very well all of a sudden. That's what this guitar does to me. And again, it's a Columbus. It's probably worth about 200 quid in its present state. Because it works, it plays, it's intonated, it's perfect, it stays in tune, it's great. But it's only worth about 200 quid. The relative Gibson from the 70s is worth a lot more. I don't know. You know, I would love to do a video comparing some of these to their vintage, because obviously these are vintage, but their vintage Gibson equivalent. I'd love to compare like this, well, maybe not this one because it's not stock anymore, but my vintage Hondo 2 Les Paul, which is all kind of like as it is. It's got original 70s pickups. Well, saying that, that's got 70s pickups in it. They're just not what they appear. Anyway, but yeah, I'd love to compare like this to like a 1962 335. Just you know, I don't know. It'd be so interesting. Maybe I'll talk to ATB, see if they'll let me do something like that. If they have the guitars in, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing to do, but you know, curioso and all that. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like videos I do, please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. Links down in the description box below. Yeah, as well as links to all things like my band and our music and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now.